In this video, I'll be installing air spring kit from Firestone. There's the part number there and the application. That is the application per the manufacturer. Here's what you got for a kit. These are all left brackets there. Air spring, that's universal sides. Same with the clamps. And this will be your right side brackets. Installation instructions, there's how it looks once it's complete. And you also have your hardware kit, fittings, heat shield, and your airline. So the biggest thing why I say this is for a Ram 3500 94-02, the cabin chassis version. And I clarify that this is not going on that. So since we're under here, we got this is a body swapped 01 Ram 2500 four-wheel drive with a regular bed that would have been on it. So I have, normally the springs would mount to the outside and on top of the leaf springs up there, but if you see, I got body mounts kind of directly over that area for this body swap. You'll see that in some other videos, but it's a 75 Dodge van sitting on this chassis. So, but when I'm towing and stuff, it does have some sag in the back that I'd like to get rid of, and it also comes very close, if not, well, I think it pretty much hits the body mounts up there. So what this is going to do is move it inboard on top of that bumper on that block on the axle, and on the outside and directly underneath the frame itself. So if you're watching this video, you know it worked, because otherwise I won't be posting it if it doesn't work out. So I haven't seen any other videos of this being done, but I did see a couple posts that were on Facebook, a couple pictures and stuff, but I don't see any videos on it, so that's why I'm making this now. I'm not going to make it totally every single nut and bolt, but I just want to show that it actually works and how it sits on these for a 2500. So the instructions that are with it are actually pretty informative. That's why I'm not going to cover all the stuff, but basically has every nut and bolt diagram, works out good, and description of everything and torque specs and all that stuff. So I'm gonna get started mounting these brackets together for the driver's side first, and then I'll show you kind of how that's pre-fit and assembled together. I will have to modify these brackets, so obviously do that stuff at your own risk, but I need to clear that new body mount that's up there that I didn't plan on. So alright, so the first step, and the reason why you just don't want to go bolting everything together and clamping everything down, you need to set this lower bracket up with the axle top mounted bracket, and there's 3 different locations for the holes in there for that bracket to mount. Mainly this is, you want this to sit as level as possible when it's mounted in there on top of that bump stop on that lower block. So get that lined up, mine line up at the bottom, and we'll go from there. Alright, so I kind of got this in here. So you see how that pretty much sits level on the axle there above that stop. There's this bolt here, it's called a bail clamp. It goes around the block and the U-bolts, saddles on there, and then there's also a saddle clamp that this goes up to the bottom here with these carriage bolts that run in there. So I kind of got all that just sitting in there nice, making sure I got plenty of clearance on everything, especially because this is not technically the application for this. You can see how it all fits together though. And then if you do have the bump stop up top where those 2 holes are at, not where the one with the zip ties coming up, but the 2 other bigger holes, those are for the top bracket. Those originally would have been a bump stop on there mounted to them. I don't know if this one ever, I would assume it would have had one at one time, but they're both missing when I get the truck, so remove those. You keep the bolts for them. Obviously I don't have the bolts because I don't have the bounce either, so but you'll use that to mount the top. I'm gonna have to modify mine, like I said, because the bracket comes up here and this is gonna end up hitting my body mount setup in here too, so yeah, go from there. So in hindsight, I could have moved my body mounts maybe to the inside of the frame or something, but we kind of just designed this whole thing and put it together. We didn't really have anything else to go off of, no other builds or anything like that, so we just kind of made it up. But I guess I forgot to mention, a lot of guys, or at least the ones I see that mount these cabin chassis setups on their 3/4 ton pickups or single wheel pickups, they're doing them because a fifth wheel plate setup that would have normally went across this area up here, that interferes on the outside out there anyway, so that's why they go with these inboard setups. So if you got that, which I'd be putting these on either way even if I didn't have these body mounts, because if I would have left this thing a truck, it would have still had a fifth wheel hitch and stuff mounted in the frame. So for all those that thought I was going overboard by mounting this vise here, I would definitely recommend this, especially for working out. That way you ain't got to go inside to a workbench. Goes right into the receiver. Make yourself a top. No vise. Alright, so entertainment purposes only. Do not do this at home, I guess. But for my particular application, obviously I don't condone this, but because it alters the manufacturer's specs and strength and whatever, but I had to notch this section out for my body mount clearance, which you wouldn't have to do if you were doing it on a stock truck. And this bottom part down here, I don't know if the frames are a little different on a cabin chassis, but the radius part of the frame where it drops down, where these two bolt holes go, it hits that radius and doesn't allow the bracket to move all the way to the edge, making this hole available for the airline to come through. So rather than notch out the frame, which would alter a lot of strength, I went ahead and took like a 1/4 inch out of this end of this bracket. I'll clean this all up and mount that. If you don't have the bump stops mounted in there, those do have like a welded nut on top, so be aware of that. They're probably 10 millimeters. So I mounted this brass air fitting in there first. It's already got like a thread locker on it, thread sealant. Then the two nuts that go on there, I ran those down, tightened those up. Basically, because once you get this bracket on there, this is, at least this one's covered by the frame. This one might be close to, so you won't be able to put these on after this is up there. But then this allows you to compress it too, to get up on top of those other brackets and line up the center hole. Alright, so I went ahead and pulled this lower bracket out just so I could fish this upper one in there. I got this upper bracket and the bag itself mounted up inside there. I did put some blue Loctite on these bolts going in up into there, just because there's no nuts or nothing. They're just got those quick threads up in the frame. And then I slid this bottom bracket, just the bracket itself, underneath. Got the center bolt, the flange bolt, mounted to the spring itself, and left that loose until I got this other lower bracket in. And then I just put all my bolts in, and my lower saddle, and my bail clamp, and then I went ahead and tightened everything up. Kind of made sure everything's seated. But you can see it's got plenty of clearance around the top of it, between the spring and the bracket. The shock's got plenty of room. The only thing you might have to do is tweak that brake line from that brake hose out just a little bit away from the bracket if it hits it, but otherwise everything fits really nice on this side. So yeah, we'll go ahead and start on the passenger side now. Alright, so I went ahead and assembled the passenger side. Note the few things that are different over here. So even if you're gonna put this on a stock truck, you might still have to clearance that bracket up there. I'm not sure if they're different from the cabin chassis models as opposed to the regular 3/4 tons, but to get rid of that radius of the holes line up, you need to do that, or at least I did. Heat shield fits good on the exhaust. This is a stock 4-inch exhaust for this. In fact, there's the part number you got. I didn't have to move anything with the exhaust or anything. The only thing that was modified was that bracket up top. Everything fits good down on this side too. No clearance issues or anything like that. The bag currently has 40 psi in it. You can see it sitting nicely. So then out of the top, the air lines comes with this bracket that mounts to the hitch receiver, and then the 2 air lines run into the back of it, and you can individually fill them. It's the driver's side again. So to make it easy to fill these, it doesn't come with a pump or anything, but this little compressor from Harbor Freight was on sale for 19 bucks. It works perfect for doing these, airing them up, and then you can let air out of them down. So it looks from the front side, so you get plenty of clearance around the shock and everything too. Alright, thanks for watching.